So let's look then at the other side of this, which is the rate of increase of these renewable energy industries, particularly hydropower, wind power, solar power, and of course nuclear as well. As I mentioned, doubling wind power capacity each year for the past 4 years. But we want to move beyond just these pictures of what China has been doing in recent years and grasp the dynamic of what's going on. So this is what happens when we look at the picture up until the year 2008, 2009. As I showed you before, we have a picture of very, very dramatic increases. But now I want to put that into perspective of the logistic curve, where the logistic curve will add up in the end to about 1 billion tonnes of coal equivalent, or 1 terawatt. So in terms of that logistic curve, the rapid increases that we've just seen of wind energy going up to the year 2010, you can see they're just at the very beginning of this expected logistic curve. And that's not just speculation. That is based on, first of all, the rate that we see China increasing the wind energy industry, the statements from the Chinese leadership, and the experience with new energy technologies in the past. That's the basis of a prediction for a logistic curve and culminating somewhere around 1 billion tonnes of coal equivalent, or 1 terawatt for wind energy. And the bulk of our paper will be saying, if this is actually a fairly accurate picture of what will be happening in China, then we want to know, well, what will be the industrial implications of that? That is a lot of wind turbines being built. That means the wind turbine industry will become larger than the automotive industry. So it will become possibly the largest material using industry in China. And because Chinese industries are the largest in the world, it will be the largest material using industry in the world. The wind turbine industry driving this logistic transformation of wind power in China. Likewise with solar photovoltaics. Photovoltaics simply mean systems for capturing light and producing electric current from that light. Photovoltaic effect is well known, recognised for over 100 years, but it's only very, very recently that we see rapid increases in photovoltaics uptake, driven by policies like the policies in Germany and Spain, where consumers are being given hefty subsidies to purchase these solar photovoltaic systems. Who is manufacturing the systems? It's largely China. And so that's why you see photovoltaic production rapidly increasing in China. Now that is largely export-oriented at the moment. But we would expect that to become domestic-driven as soon as China starts to build its domestic industry, its domestic market for photovoltaics. Likewise with solar thermal. Solar thermal, you see, building up very, very rapidly. This is using the sun to heat water. And this is a typical picture of housing in China. And you'll notice that every single apartment building is covered in these solar thermal transformers. So solar thermal is very, very well established and mature technology. In China, used throughout the country, almost universally. New housing developments go up with solar thermal on the roof, and that is why China is far and away the world's largest user of solar thermal technology, and it's been increasing very, very rapidly. So what do we deduce from this? That solar energy will again follow a logistic curve through the century, and the recent improvements that we've seen are very, very small compared with what we expect to come, the dynamic driving this industry. Likewise with bioenergy, that is the use of modern biomass to produce electric power, or biofuels or liquid fuels. Again, quite substantial increases, but very, very small increases when we look at the expected logistic curve uptake for these various sources of energy in China. Nuclear, very, very interesting because, again, we've seen these rapid increases in recent years. China building far more nuclear reactors right now than any other country. But again, nuclear we see as following a logistic curve, and so by the end of the century likely to be one of the major pillars of China's alternative energy industries. And the recent increases in nuclear reactor building, again, quite small compared with what we expect. So what we expect, we're going to argue in the paper. I can't show you the charts as yet, but what we expect is that the resource requirements, the steel required, the cement required, the energy required, will be within China's grasp. And this will be the energy and industrial transformation of the 21st century, driving the huge uptake of nuclear, of wind, of solar, of bioenergy and hydro. Hydro won't be quite so much because there's a limit to what you can do with rivers and damming rivers. Many of you will be familiar with the Three Gorges Dam project in China, which is the world's largest hydroelectric installation. Over 20 gigawatts of power generated at peak by that. But we can't go on doing that forever. And so we don't see a logistic curve for hydro, but something that will come up against limits more early. So when we look at the renewables, then we see the dynamic being driven by these logistic curves. When we look at the fossil fuels, we expect China to move rapidly, burning off fossil fuels at a very, very rapid rate, but peaking somewhere fairly early in the century. Coal, for example, peaking between 2030 and 2040, and China rapidly improving its energy efficiency as it does so. So we expect this kind of curve to govern the burning of coal in China up until the year 2100. So a convex curve coming to a virtual conclusion by the end of this century, and that's actually what's been happening up until 2008. Clearly part of a longer-term quadratic function, convex function. Oil, we expect to follow a similar kind of path, but at a lower level, and again coming to an end around the end of the century, and likewise with gas, again smaller peak, but peaking around the middle of the century and coming down. So these are based on this very report from the Energy Research Institute, and you can see there the projections from the ERI report going up to the year 2050, and they're matching our charts of quadratic functions.